All right, so here's what I'm learning as I'm negotiating on a real property and what I see how great companies actually expand. So what I have seen is I've been able to negotiate with Opal Fuel, People's Gas, multiple municipalities, and billion-dollar companies like KB Homes, DR Horton, just a slew of others, CMEX, Titan Concrete now that we're having discussions with, and CSX as well. So here's what I have found, which basically is the difference between a great company and the hidden lessons that I've learned in real time. I've got some notes as well, so I want to make sure I don't miss anything. So whenever you are typically like People's Gas or Opal Fuel, for example, they're going to hire a outside consultant, somebody similar to like Summit Consulting. They're going to approach the landowner and they're going to say, hey, we're interested in your property because we're doing an expansion. Have you ever considered selling? Or they're going to throw you an offer. They're going to first give you what they call market rent or market evaluation on the property. Now, I'm not saying that's going to be a great offer, but it's something and you're going to see it, right? So what I have seen typically on the great companies is, number one, they do not have their operations manager who has no business doing anything dealing with acquisitions. And that operations manager should not be negotiating land, okay? The main reason why is you've got to look at your own business. Typically as a developer, or if you're a business owner and you're watching this, right? And you're thinking about acquiring a piece of land. What the thing that you want to do is first do your own math. It's just basic math. For example, on the site that I have across the street from here in our office, the basic math is this. There is a fertilizer company next to us, and then there is our parcel with rail access, and then right next to me is CSX's private property, okay? They own land right next to my land. Now, here's the catch. I have the rail spur. CSX does not. Now, they could do a rail spur, but it costs about $1 million. They're not going to just spend it to spend it. They need a client. They need an end user on who's going to actually do this, right? So the way that it would go, for example, is like if I sell my property or I do a land lease or I do a per car lease with CSX and CEMEX, right? So CEMEX, let's say CEMEX Concrete buys the parcel, right? And they put in 20 rail cars. Well, there's 20 rail cars coming through my site. I can get a land lease, I can get a rate per car, or they could straight out just buy it. But at the end of the day, they already did the math, meaning they know that if they're going to put in 20 more of their carts, because remember this, rail is the cheapest logistical transportation you can get. And it's the safest, in a sense of safe that your product is going to get at its location without having issues. Remember, drivers, every second a driver is actually driving, there's a probability of an accident. That's why, semi trucks, their insurance is extremely high. Anything that is a heavy vehicle, their insurance is extremely high when it comes down to transportation. Then you have wear and tear. Then you have somebody not possibly paying attention. Rail, you're literally on a straight line. You're just going straight, right? Or whatever else. Like it is not that difficult, right? You got a clear path of exactly where that product's going to go. It's extremely safe. And in a sense of when you're dealing with per rail car incidents versus semi trucks or transportation on the highway system, totally different. So if you have rail access and you're the company next to it, the way that you want to negotiate is just do your math. Look, if our company is bringing in, let's say $100 million a year, right? And we're bringing in, and we have 10 rail cars with our product. That means potentially every car is worth to us about $10 million. This is just basic math. I'm not just saying it is, okay? That means that if we could bring in more of our product, because more people, more of our customers want our product, then what's going to happen is probably we're going to be increasing our sales and our revenue, right? So our revenue is going to be going up. That means our profitability is going up because we already know exactly what our profit margins are. And if we could bring more of it, typically if you're bringing in more of your product at scale, it's going to start decreasing the actual the raw price of what that item is, right? So if you're bringing in concrete, but if you're bringing in concrete at every freight car is 100 tons, right? That concrete price is going to be lower for that entire community. If you're bringing in fertilizer, if you're bringing in other kind of agriculture items within that community is going to get that right now discount and right now benefit because they're getting the best rate, because the company's not adding in the freight and all the other, not the freight, but they're not adding in the, I would say the traffic rate. Because if you're bringing it, so for example, if I make a cake right here and then I sell it out my door, that's 20, let's say I sell it for $20. And my material cost for that was $2 with the batter and everything else, or probably less than that. But if I then had to have that $20 cake and then I had to drive to Orlando to drop it off and spend $40 in gas, that's not going to make any damn sense, because now I just spent $20 to deliver. I spent $40, $20 more dollars to deliver a $20 cake. Make sense? So the same thing with rail. So if you could bring it in at scale, it decreases the actual cost of that product. So the more I'm finding out about rail, the more I'm like, man, this is actually not just amazing on my site, but hopefully somebody's watching this could be amazing on your site as well. So what do you do if you're attempting to actually negotiate what I would say negotiate effectively with a landowner? Number one, already do your homework and understand your math. Look, at the end of the day, if it's going to bring in $100 more million of revenue or $10 million worth of revenue, then probably that land is worth way more than just $100 or $100,000. I don't know. I personally, if I know I'm going to make $100 million for sure, if I'm a business owner and running a large company, right, and doing $100 million or more, and I know that if I bring in my product at a cheaper rate than anybody else because of this land, then possibly what's $5 million? Nothing. In the grand scheme of things, if you're looking at like, hey, we can actually produce $100 million out of this particular property if we had access to what that property brings, that's a huge deal. That's huge, because you have to look at what is your enterprise value, what is the enterprise multiplier of an ROI, right? What is that enterprise multiplier? So what is your multiplier for your business? Usually it's one or two things. Like if you haven't hit, usually the thresholds are $1 million, 10 million, and 100 million, right? So first to 100 million is just like one product, one mission, one everything. Just find out what's actually executing, go all in until you get the million, right? And then even on 10 million, you could do actually the same thing. 100 million, Alex Hormozy explained this really good on just breaking into that point. I haven't done that, so I'm not saying I have, but I have been a part of companies, and I was the lead of a company that were doing over $10 million. When I was a CEO at True Builders, True Plumbers, we were doing very well. And I actually doubled decreased their cost by 100%. And that was only because they were overspending on a lot of other things. So we just cut everything out, went all in on everything that was actually working, and then went from a 7% margin to a 14% margin. Technically, that's 100% if you double it in 4 months, whatever. But I'm attempting to explain to you, when you run numbers and you run the math, that's what matters. The other thing is what I'm finding out is like, gosh, rail brings in, it is an economy lever. Like it is the positive way to bring in goods at a way lower margin what it's actually coming in at. If you can coordinate it, and if you can actually secure a rail line, that's the catch. It's like, it is hard. It is not simple at all, period. Because a lot of the rail companies, they're mini monopolies, right? But the more and more I'm dealing with it, I was like, gosh, man, more and more people really should look into it, because there's a huge opportunity to assist other companies. Like right now, I know CSX fairly well. We're doing we're going to do a land lease on their property, attaching it to my property, the adjacent property. And if I could work out a deal that the fertilizer company next to us, Cemex, and probably even Titan Concrete can all benefit from the rail, great. It helps our company, whatever. But man, that helps the economy. Like for real, like in my local area, construction costs will go down because concrete is down, meaning we're getting it at a lower price than other people can get it for because the rail is dropping it off right here. Okay. At the same time, too, wood, fertilizer, material, all these other items are going to be coming in at a cheaper rate here. That's kind of like when I lived in Korea, it was like buying Nike shoes directly from the factory without the shipping costs. You're going to get a better rate. So it only helps. The other thing is, too, what I've learned is the best leaders think long term. For example, me doing a lot more content that I typically don't do. The only reason why I'm doing it is because I want to take out everything that I'm learning and just sharing all the lessons I'm learning in real time, as much as I possibly can, because I really don't want anybody else to go through the pain that I've been through to make things happen, period. And I think for me was like, I kind of wish I would hear more from developers that are in action right now. Look, if you get development right, I get that your net worth can start with a B. Totally get that. Love that. Awesome. But for me was like, it's amazing because you learn the infrastructure. You learn really what it takes to build a city. And even in small development, you're building your own community. And it's just cool. Yes, it's super high risk. It's super, complex and everything else. You're negotiating with attorneys, lawyers, you're raising capital, you're figuring things out. Sometimes you got to sleep on the couch and that's the only place you got. Sometimes you got to sleep at your office because you leverage everything you had to keep moving forward because you believe in something. A lot of times people don't even have that kind of belief and they need so much certainty. They don't get out of their office ever because they need that certainty. They're willing to give up love sometimes because they need that certainty. Developers, nah. We kind of just go for it sometimes because we know we ran the numbers and we said, you know what? I want to do something cool. I want to have something for me personally, on my tombstone, I would love for it to say, had nothing left, gave it all he got, gave it everything, right? All right. So here's another thing as well. Everything improves when you test and measure. So just remember this. If you test it and you measure it, it's going to improve. If you're negotiating with land, first, run the math. What does that look like? Are we going to bring in a higher ROI when we're doing this? If we do this on this piece of land and the numbers work, what's our ROI on it? Sometimes you could just be transparent with the landowner and just tell them, say, hey man, you're going to win the lottery and our numbers can definitely go up pretty substantially if we work together. I typically, whenever I do an assemblage, I'm just letting the other homeowners know the truth, or the landowners. I'm just like, look, I got somebody interested in the property. We're all going to hit the lottery and we just need to be fair with each other. A lot of times I'll just take the sales price from what I'm getting it for and divide it into the acreage. Whoever has more acreage, even if it's not me, I just want to get the deal done because it really can't help. It's helping everything move forward. There's momentum. There's a reason why the Earth right now is going 18,000 miles per hour in the middle of nowhere. It's called space, and it's in the middle of a corkscrew, right? This is actually true. So if you ever want to, it's like momentum is a thing. Just keep moving, keep improving, keep getting better, and you've got this. You'll make it. All right, let me make sure I'm not missing anything. No, I didn't miss anything. Perfect. All right, so look, if you got something out of this, fantastic. At the end of the day, it's all about just improving and expanding. And understanding is this. You don't want to have an amateur negotiate for you if you are a $100 million company or more, 300 million, 500 million, $1 billion company. Don't have the manager who does not have negotiation as his background, who's just literally the plant manager. Negotiate a piece of land that could literally bring you an ROI and help your customers throughout your product line tremendously and possibly gain over $100 million more dollars a year off of one site. But you want to actually bring in a non-experienced negotiator? How do you think it's going to play out? Come on, man. Really, just pick up the phone, talk to them, tell them the truth. Hey, I ran the numbers. We can actually gain about $100 million a year, right? And so I think you won the lottery. Obviously, we can't pay you $100 million, but we could be fair with you. 3 million, 4 million, whatever that looks like. Just get the deal done. Think about your ROIs. All right. Hopefully this helps. Talk to you. Bye.